Is it something traumatic, or is it how you take it? And so this gets to, I didn't use this, but we'll just talk about it. The idea of big T and little t trauma.
Yeah.
Capital T or big T trauma are things like, war or rape or, things that reliably mess you up, that
Yeah.
reliably
It's like you can count on
cause
it messing you
you
up.
can
Yeah.
count on it being stored for most people most of the time
Hmm.
as traumatic. Little t trauma are things that overwhelm the system. They are more than the impact or the energy of that event, whatever is going on, is more than the person's resources in the moment. And
Hmm.
so anything like that um, becomes coded as trauma for the
Hmm.
person. That's their reaction. So this could be anything. Could be like, class, bullying is usually a pretty bad one, but maybe standing up in front of a class and, you make a mistake and all the kids laugh at you.
Yeah.
Now, some people that might get stored as a little, as a traumatic event, some not. And it will depend on the resources available to the person at the time. And so what
Hmm.
happens is, depending on how many little t traumas you have in life, well, if you have big t traumas, they get become a real problem usually or often. And even big t traumas are modified by how much resources you have at the
Hmm.
time, with your family and friends and whatever. But remember, Dan Siegel says it's the mind controls the flow of information and energy over time. So it's this over time. Does the trauma collect more traumas? Which is
Hmm.
often what happens. And I actually have a slide that shows that. The question becomes, how does it get stored? Does it collect other things? Do additional disruptions happen? Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, which gets us to this schematic here, which again, it might be a little too wonky for some, but I like it. So what we have here, I don't know if you can see the little plane, this open plane of possibility, the square, which is basically, it's the idea of beginner's mind. Anything's
Yeah.
possible, and anything's possible, and nothing, and anything can happen. And then you have these bigger things in consciousness where there's a higher and higher probability that you're going to be in a certain state of mind, up to the point where up here it's like almost 100%. So for instance, if somebody is walking down the street and a car backfires and the person yells, drops to the ground and says incoming,
Hmm.
as if they're, and that happens almost all the time, we would say there's a very high probability that they're having this traumatic reaction, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's what, and on the other hand, if you like, you stand up in front of people and you always feel good and strong and great, then that's a high probability of a resourceful reaction. And so our consciousness is made up of a whole host of these things, of less good states, more good states. And so
Hmm.
what trauma does is it increases the probability of negative states happening more of the time, and it decreases the access or probability of resourceful states happening more of the time.
So basically, what you're saying is that you get the memory, and this memory until now, it used to have a certain biological expression or manifestation.
Yes.
And now what you're doing, you generate a different expression or physiological manifestation, and that will basically mess up the memory, so to speak.
It changes the flow of information and energy so that the trauma is no longer stored. And here's what's interesting, because I know people do this all the time, cognitive reframing. I can't think, almost every single time people will spontaneously tell you they'll have new meaning, new
Yeah.
narratives. It'll just, so not only that, but in the unconscious, because what is the unconscious? I mean, what the heck is the unconscious? It's some part of the mind. Well, it's also
Yeah.
every single biological concomitant that goes along with. And so what happens is when the memory comes up, it comes up with new resources. The body's calm. Now the person can think differently. And so yes, it changes the whole shebang. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's over time. So now the person can sleep. Or now the next time, like, if the next time, like, they may have had a negative reaction, they have a positive reaction, and that builds and builds and becomes generative over time.
Yeah. Wasn't that absolutely fantastic? I'm sure that you found a lot of information in this very short video you just saw, maybe like 4 or 5, 6 minutes, however long it was. But that is not all. You can have access to the entire presentation of this amazing speaker, plus 40 more other presentations and speakers, and you can have access for life. You can have access to the video recording, to the audio recording, to the swipe files, to the transcripts, to all of the bonuses and the special gifts that all of the speakers and presenters and also the organizers are offering in the Premium Pass package. So if you like this, if you want more, make sure to sign up below for the Premium Pass and have lifetime access to everything. I'm sure it'll be one of the best investments you've ever made in your life, in yourself, in your practice, in your health, and also with working with clients. So go ahead, click on the button below, sign up for the Premium Pass, and we'll see you on the other side.